So Troop, it's happening. I'm pulling my music off of Spotify, and here's why. You may or may not be aware that some changes are coming with Spotify in Q1 of 2024. And the main thing I have a gripe with is the key sentence right here. Music that receives less than 1,000 streams within 12 months will not receive royalty payments. Now, the argument here from Spotify is that, let's say a track receives 999 on average, depending on your demographic, plays, all of that fun stuff. That would be equal to about $3, which isn't enough for a distributor to actually pay out, except that's because distributors like DistroKid have a $2 minimum withdrawal. Let's look at my example where I have maybe 35 tracks that are B-sides, other parts of an album, interludes in an album, and other things like that may only receive a few hundred plays across the whole of a year. Once we start timing that across an entire catalogue, that couple of dollars becomes a few $100 each year that Spotify are now not going to pay out. And because it's every 12 months, well, this could go on for the next decade of picking up 900 plays across a catalogue of music. And then suddenly we're into thousands, potentially tens of thousands, not being paid out. This kind of makes their argument completely redundant. But it was redundant in the first place because the very simple fact is it's down to your distributor whether or not you can receive a payout or a minimum payout. And at the end of the day, your music was streamed, it was consumed, it was used, hopefully enjoyed. That money is yours, whether it's $1 or 10,000, doesn't matter. You've earned that money, and Spotify are now saying you haven't, and we're not going to pay that out to you. It doesn't matter if it's the free platform of Spotify or if it's a paid premium user streaming that music. You're not getting paid out until it breaks that 1,000 streams. Now maybe you think that's actually not that much music, but remember, it's every year. It's not breaking the 1,000 streams overall. It's every 12 months. And actually, it turns out that's about 42% of all of the music on Spotify will only receive under that 1,000 stream each 12 months. Not in total, each 12 months. So this is now Spotify saying, actually, we're not going to pay out for 42% of our entire catalogue, which totals out to be around 40 million a year that they're not paying out to artists. But wait, they say they are going to pay it out to artists. They're going to pay it out to artists who get more streams. So the smaller artist who was already struggling and getting the minimum lower payouts are now going to get nothing, while bigger labels, bigger artists, well-established artists are going to get that money, even though it was your music that was streamed and not theirs. They're just going to get a higher rate. It's funny that the labels that approved this are also generally part owners or co-owners of Spotify and investors. Weird, right? Now this is kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. There's other reasons, and there's many other artists over time that have boycotted Spotify for various reasons. This just being the breaker. I haven't pushed it since the pandemic. I'm literally finishing up album number 2 now and getting ready to do a big push. And well, I can save my Spotify budget, can't I? DistroKid is my distributor. They're also a sponsor of this channel, and they will absolutely allow me to pull my music off of just one single platform. It's not as easy as a click and retract everything from one platform. You can do that for all platforms, but for one, we do have to reach out to them specifically and request that all music is removed from it. If you're with DistroKid and you want to do the same as I'm about to do, I'll link that below for you for the process. But in the past, Spotify would generate as much as $100 a month for me. But we could take away the fact that that's across Warrior Sound Beats and both the Unders music that I put out. That's something in the range of maybe 100 tracks to spread all those plays out across. And instead, now, the majority of those would never actually build anything. So there's no point being there at all, is there? Really. Because let's be honest, the discoverability side of Spotify, that's pretty much long dead. It's a pay-to-play payola platform, as much as they dispute that it isn't. There are more ways to payola your music onto Spotify than there are to legitimately be discovered now. And bearing in mind, Spotify has its own payola platform built directly in. If you want to get in front of a large audience, it's the best way to do it. You can get your music heard by the kind of people who are exactly listening to that genre of music, and you pay Spotify for that privilege. Artists in the past have pulled their music from Spotify or boycotted the platform altogether. Taylor Swift was probably one of the most famous ones for this, having all her catalogue unavailable on Spotify, and this was vastly due to the pay per streams at the end of the day being way too low. Now from 2014 right the way through to 2017, this was the case. Taylor Swift's music was unavailable on Spotify, but in 2017 they reached an agreement and her music is now widely available with something in the range of 100 million a month monthly listeners, with a better streaming revenue than everybody else gets. I would hope the likes of Taylor Swift would accept that this is unfair on all of the smaller artists and would join in a boycott of removing their music. But at the end of the day, it benefits them because they're now going to get a larger streaming revenue while we all get absolutely shafted.